Colombian and Venezuelan lawmakers assess the progress and challenges following the resumption of relations promoted by Colombian President Gustavo Petro and his Venezuelan counterpart Nicolás Maduro. The meeting began at 9 a.m. local time. Colombian deputies hosted their Venezuelan counterparts in the city of Bogota to follow up and deepen commercial and friendly relations between the two nations. Likewise, the parties will discuss the lines of action for a plan on the border, the need to promote the initiatives that allow the linking of the institutions and the peoples, as well as the other subjects of mutual interest. The establishment of commercial and friendly relations between Bogota and Caracas came after Gustavo Petro took over the Colombian presidency after 6 years of estrangement.
The first thing is to tell people that we are working for the effective re-establishment in all senses of relations between Colombia and Venezuela. Something absolutely terrible that happened is that we went from an exchange of $7 billion to $220 million, and when more than 90% of the resources are no longer exchanged, it is not the governments that suffer, but the people. So this commission for the re-establishment of relations between Colombia and Venezuela, created in a bicameral manner, for the Senate and the Chamber, will allow this accompaniment, or has been doing so with 2 draft agreements that have already passed through the Congress of the Republic. With the visit today of some deputies after, we were also in Cucuta in a meeting, setting up this binational commission.
In this context, the Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati addressed the matter after Israel's ceasefire proposal. Mikati said that the international community must enforce an immediate ceasefire. He also added that Israel has no regard for any law after targeting Beirut and other regions this same afternoon in a series of attacks that the Prime Minister described as hysterical. Finally, Mikati stressed that attacking the capital shows the particular hatred of Israel, as Beirut represents all Lebanese people and is home to most of the displaced population. Furthermore, the Lebanese Prime Minister took to his social media X to add, "I received a call from U.S. President Joe Biden during which we consulted on the current situation. I thank him for the U.S. support for Lebanon and the efforts made by his envoy, Mr. Hochstein. We welcome the decision to cease fire in Lebanon, which the United States of America and France helped arrange, thankfully." In this context, Al Jazeera correspondent Zaina Hodor reported the reaction of Hezbollah official Mahmoud Kamati to the agreement. According to this source, the official stated that the resistance needs to review the causes of the ceasefire agreement that was approved by the enemy. The organization also highlighted the need to see if it is the same deal that the Lebanese authorities approved and stressed that no deal will be accepted that violates Lebanon's sovereignty. In this way, they underscored that it is the job of Lebanese authorities to make sure it is the same deal that was approved last week. The President of the United States, Joe Biden, has taken to X to address the ceasefire negotiations underway. In this regard, he stated, "Today, I have good news to report from the Middle East. I have spoken to the Prime Ministers of Lebanon and Israel, and I am pleased to announce they have accepted the United States proposal to end the devastating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah." In several cities of France, farmers' unions continue to mobilize in rejection of the free trade agreement between the European Union and Mercosur. Called by the National Federation of Agricultural Holders Unions, the sector resumed protest after the approval of the elimination of tariffs on European exports to South American nations. Union workers filled the streets of Strasbourg and Perpignan with tractors to denounce what they considered to be unfair competition. Farmers claimed that eliminating export regulations for products that do not comply with European sanitary requirements benefits foreign companies to the detriment of French farm workers.
We asked for measures to simplify the export of animals, for example, and we got a very nonchalant administration, back in May-June, that didn't want to listen, hear, or propose anything. And so today we're back. We're up to date with our work, so we're back with the same demands. And we're obliged, I regret it, but we're obliged to show off the big guns because nothing is moving forward with the administration.
In El Salvador, following a landslide in the district of San Pedro Peruplan, authorities confirmed the death of 2 people and the rescue of 2 survivors. The accident took place in the central municipality of Cujastlan after a landslide trapped workers who were transporting sand in the area. After the accident, civil protection personnel and police officers were mobilized to the area of the accident to start search and rescue efforts. Due to the quick response of the authorities, 2 survivors were found. Israel's Security Cabinet has approved a U.S.-brokered ceasefire deal with Hezbollah in Lebanon following the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's agreement. The Prime Minister's office said the plan was approved by a 10-to-1 vote. Previously, Netanyahu had cited 3 main reasons for the deal on the Israeli part, namely to focus on the Iranian threat, to refresh army forces and resupply, and to disconnect the fronts and isolate the Palestinian resistance Hamas. Furthermore, he stressed Israel will attack if Hezbollah violates the proposed truce. The agreement allegedly repeats United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701 and involves the monitoring of the U.S. and France. Israeli media reported that the cessation of hostilities will take effect at 4 a.m. local time on Wednesday. In the meantime, the Zionist forces have issued new evacuation warnings for Beirut's southern suburbs. The government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela rejected in an official communiqué the G7 statement on the Venezuelan electoral and political process. The communiqué reads as follows: the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela categorically rejects the absurd statement on the Venezuelan electoral and political process issued by the G7, a group of powers that insist on believing itself to be the arbiter of global democracy while covering up its own political, economic and moral failures, supporting genocides and stimulating the spread of Nazi and fascist ideology in Europe and the world. The document also states it is particularly ironic that these same countries, which greatly embarrassed themselves in 2019 by recognizing an impostor as interim president, now pretend to give lessons on popular will and electoral processes. They are trying from the colonialist and imperialist complex to prepare the ground to disregard the institutions and decisions of the Venezuelan people with the fantasy of a Guaidó 2.0 that will again crash against the dignity of the heirs of Simón Bolívar. In addition, it reads, "We warn the G7 countries that this arrogant and interfering attitude will not go unchallenged. Venezuela will proceed to thoroughly review its relations with each of the governments that make up this group because respect for national sovereignty is non-negotiable." Finally, it concludes, "History has already shown that the Bolivarian people will not accept any more tutelage. Venezuela is free and will continue to be so no matter how much it hurts those who have not overcome their imperial compulsions."